Like an orphan abandoned to its fates, there is no respite for the naira. In its loss of value against major global currencies like the US dollar, the decision by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to stop Forex sales to Bureau de Change operators appears to worsen the situation, with the naira losing more value after the announcement last Tuesday. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele accused the operators of trying to dollarize the Nigerian economy and make huge profits while Nigerians suffer in pain. But let's see the implication of this move in this report by TVC News Market editor, that's Effiong Ekop.
With a strong policy directive, the message gave effect to the stopping of the sales of Forex to Bureau de Change operators, who are simply currency merchants in the financial markets. The Apex Bank said it was not satisfied with the mode of operations by the BDCs. According to Mr. Godwin Emefiele, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the BDCs have abandoned their retail outlet positions to play big and wholesale in the market, often helping to distort Forex allocation system.
The bank has an understanding with Bureau de Change operators that they make a small margin from sale of the US dollar allocated to them per week. They have reneged and become somewhat greedy, recalcitrant, with abnormally high profits from these sales, while ordinary Nigerians have been left to feel the pain.
Issues and questions have emerged since the announcement. Many people wonder why it took a long time before uncovering negative roles of the BDCs in the markets. Some analysts say that licensing more than 5,000 BDCs in numbers and using scarce national resources to fund their operations must have given signals to people about lucrative but economically harmful ventures. Critics talk about government's regular policy somersault, which hurts businesses and forestalls plans and investments. They have asked questions about the reasons why CBN created a special Forex allocation window for BDCs, plus licensing them to operate legally. Economist and former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf, kicks against controlled Forex market system. In the current experiment, the commercial banks are being mandated to take charge of Forex sales. Special teller counters are expected within banks for the handling of Forex sales to customers. Here, more issues emerge. Some people say that banks may not be honest and trustworthy of the entire duties and expectations. Observers of the Forex market say that round-tripping of the Naira-dollar values for profit started with the banks. As corruption and lack of patriotism hits the nation and its economy, many people wonder what will become of our Forex markets in the coming months and years. 16th century Scottish economist Adam Smith, in his book, The Wealth of Nations, emphasized production, specialization, and exchanges of goods and services if nations would grow. People now ask about the production capacities of Nigeria with its large population. Apart from crude oil and gas sales, what are we exporting to other economies which will enhance the earnings of Forex? Many people wonder whether the value of the Naira could be improved without sustained production of goods and services. Effiong Ekop, TVC News, Lagos.
That report by TVC News Market Editor, Effiong Ekop. Babajide, would you say the CBN governor's action was necessary or inevitable?
I think that ultimately it was necessary for him to take this decision because, look, what really do the BDCs bring into the economy? A situation in which BDCs get a bigger chunk of Forex more than the real sector that drives our economy is an unwholesome situation that no country would want to find itself in such a situation. What the BDCs do amount to rent seeking in my view. And I will encourage the CBN governor to try his best to bridge the gap between the official rates and the parallel markets, because as far as economics are concerned, what we call the black market is the closest to reality. So if we bridge the gap, let's say the gap is just like 5%, it will discourage a lot of the rent seeking that we are seeing, because everybody has literally become a bureau de change operator. Politicians who have stolen money,
Because of
they convert the cash from naira to dollars because they know it's a consistent and effective store of value, and they keep it somewhere. Those who kidnap people and get paid humongous sum of money, they are heading towards the bureau de change to convert it to a dollar and just keep. The hunger for the dollar in our country is not real. It's just the product of corruption. If, for example, you get bribed to the tune of 400 million, and it's possible to bribe a Nigerian to the tune of 400 million, the next thing he's thinking of is to go and change that money. So you actually see a hunger for the naira that is not based on production, but largely meant to satisfy the appetite of corrupt people. And a lot of them, they are the ones who run these BDCs. Politicians, terrorist financiers, and all that. By the way, Nigerians are still asking what will eventually happen to those people who were arrested in the UAE because they were bureau de change operators. So you have a situation in which we now have more than 5,000 people seeking to be to have their bureau de change companies licensed. The number of people who have entered the business of bureau de change has increased by more than 100% because they've now seen this as an opportunity to simply make money. And I don't blame them. If you give them $100 million a week, for example, they are likely to make between 70 to 80 naira on every dollar just for doing nothing. The dollar that you give them is the product of what was it called, the transaction that Nigeria went into. They are not the ones who sweated to get the dollar. Is that how it is done in other countries of the world? You give them, they just simply make money about between 70 to 80 naira on every dollar, and you want this to stop. Whatever you give them, they push to the black market where they can make so much money because the gap between the official market and the parallel market is too wide. So he has to, as I said some time ago, the CBN governor has to look at himself in the mirror. At the time he was taking this job, it was 165 to a dollar. Today, it's about 525. I don't know what the rate is this particular day, but during the weekend, it was between 520 to 525. Some got it for 523. From 165 when Emefiele took over.
Wow. Because now, this decision was taken some years back and then reversed. Do you see this happening again?
I'm going to look at this from various angles, and I just hope I don't complicate the issues. because it's a little complicated and very complex. Number one, if you have a government that has several rates of foreign exchange, the government itself has created that problem already. You recall the former Emir of Kano, who said he can sit in his garden,
cross his leg,
and just make a phone call, and then because even our system promotes
rent seeking.
Yeah. That is number one. Then number two, there's something. I think this government is taxing the head of the CBN governor for no just cause. The CBN, the job is monetarist policies, exchange rate control, interest rate control, and interest rate, exchange rate. Those are the jobs of central bank. You are pushing the governor of central bank to be doing things like what you call macroeconomic policies, running the economy. Yeah. Whereas we have a minister who is in charge of budget instead of planning, who is supposed to do that job. I can see an absentee person. Let me tell you what is happening in this country. The Nigerian economy is twofold. The oil economy, petroleum rather, let me put it like that. The petroleum economy is not a domestic economy in Nigeria. No. All the oil crude oil is sold outside this country. And it is the government that takes that money. And then what happens? We now take that money and then begin to give it, if you like, to bureau de change for no reasons.
For nothing.
For nothing. Give it to banks, as he's proposing right now.
Yes.
And the banks, the bottleneck that you get in.
Yes.
I was in the bank. I recall this thing about 10 years ago. $29,000. Somebody wanted, I think he paid in an EcoBank ETI dividend, which is in dollars. Paid it in. He wanted the money. They delayed him. I happened to have reasons to be in the bank for a long time. They were delaying him, and they were going from one bank to the other, calling themselves before they could bring the money. What I'm trying to tell you is this.
And it wasn't as if the money was not with them.
Exactly. Now, what kind of economy are we running? We are running an economy such that we keep foreign exchange so that we can import even consumer goods that we should be producing.
We don't need.
Do you understand? We have a disarticulated economy. What we produce, we don't need. What we need, we don't produce. So let's even start. Do you know how much money we spend importing rice, chicken, fish,
even eggs?
Do you know how much money everything in this building? We importing iron sheets, we are importing tiles, we are importing POP, every kind of thing, that consumer items that we should be producing. Yeah. So those people who came with the old theory, the classical theory that it is the accumulated reserve that strengthens your economy, I disagree with them totally and completely. Build your own economy, your own internal economy with proper macroeconomic policies. And I need to say this government at least appears to be dealing with the issues of infrastructure. It may be slow, it may not be enough, but at least I can see that direction. That is where we need to be going. And then please, the Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning should please wake up and drive macroeconomic policies. It is not the job of the governor of central bank to be running the economy. His job is control of inflation, exchange rate and interest rate. That is his job. You are asking the man to be doing anchor borrowers for agriculture. You are asking him to do several other things. That is not his brief. You are tasking the man, and the man does not know how to say no. And we will not get anywhere as long as the people who should be thinking, we should be having 4-5 year economic plan. We used to have it in this country. We derailed that We don't have it. That is where we should be facing. He should cry out and say, you are giving me responsibilities that are not my own.
It's not good to cry.
Let the people, we have Minister of Trade and Industry, we have Minister for Power, yes, we have Minister for Finance, Budget and Planning. Those are the people who should sit down and run the economy.
All right. An investment analyst, Benga Ogunriola, joins us via Zoom for more discussion on this. Thank you for staying with us, Benga.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. Now, let me begin by asking you, will the aim of the CBN be achieved in the final analysis?
Well, it's only time that will tell, because as things are, the Nigerian economy, like you said in your analysis, appears to be quite complicated. And when we look at, even though it had worked in some other, all the logic that went into bringing up such policies. So I want to say that it's only time that will tell if this policy that has been introduced.
We're having the sound, but then
Looks.
Okay.
Hello, Ben, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, continue.
I'm with you.
Yes, the question is, this measure, this step that the CBN governor took, it took it a few years back, and then returned to supplying BDCs with Forex. Do you see him reversing this step that he has taken again? Do you see him going back to begin to supply this BDCs with Forex?
Yes, I guess. Yes, I understand your question. It depends on the effects that this decision will have on the economy. Because if the effect is a negative one, then I think they might have to swallow their pride and reverse the decision. But if it's a positive decision, then I mean, we all have reasons to celebrate. The fact that the CBN introduced this policy is because they saw some lapses in the system, of which ordinarily I would have suggested a more robust approach to this decision of just clamping down on the BDCs and saying that we won't give them Forex again, but rather having a stakeholders meeting with them whereby they will be able to table what the problems are, the infractions that they've seen in the system, the infringement that they've seen in the system. They'll be able to table that and ask them to profile solutions. And at the end of the day, when there's a stakeholders forum and everybody contributes to getting a solution, I believe that it's a more holistic approach than this approach that has been, that appears to be a bit on the one-sided.
Now, the banks have been told now to take charge of sale of Forex to people who need them. Many people are not convinced that these banks can get the job done. Where do you stand?
Well, the banks, from their body language, they're actually ready to take over from the BDCs, at least from the initial reaction that we've seen from some of the remarks and actions that some of them have put in place when this thing was announced. And I want to believe that if the CBN are really serious about getting things right, it depends on the will of the CBN itself. They have better controls of the banks than probably the BDCs. The banks are not as much as the BDCs. And if they can put good monitoring policies in place that will be able to checkmate the excesses, that will be able to checkmate infractions, then I believe that they should actually succeed with this.
Where else can we source for BDCs? I mean, for foreign exchange.
For Forex.
Since it
Yes.
appears that what we have is not enough.
One of the greatest undoing of our government is that they start something and middle way they just let it go. I remember when this government came into office, one of the areas they said they were going to explore as the major source of foreign exchange is in the agricultural sector. And I remember then there was this story of Nigerians exporting yam to some foreign countries, and probably the yam got bad, and that was just the end of the whole story. But I think that if the governments are really, really serious and proactive, the agricultural sector is a very wide and very it's one sector that can generate a lot of forex for us. And if all these issues of herders, farmers clash and all that are settled, I want to believe that it's one area that we can actually work on vigorously and get a good source of foreign exchange. Apart from that, I mean, other countries also try to capitalize on their human capital, you know, as a source of forex. And I think this is also one area that Nigeria too should be looking at, whereby we are also able to capitalize on our human capital as a source of foreign exchange.
I want to thank you, investment analyst Benga Murela, for joining us. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much.